Captain Robert Walton was obsessed with the idea of reaching the North Pole. He gathered his crew, equipped the ship, and set sail. Just as he was about to reach his destination, his ship got caught in an ice trap. The crew was exhausted, and the sailors were ready to start a riot. But then a desperate cry was heard from afar. Soon, a man appeared, calling himself Victor Frankenstein, and asked Walton to take his men and weapons and go with him. The captain refused. The next moment, his dogs broke loose from their tether and ran off at the call of the unknown creature. As soon as they were in the vicinity, they were killed. Then Victor revealed what kind of monster was hiding in the ice. But he began his story from his childhood so that Walton could understand how terrifying this monster was and how he came into the world. Victor grew up a smart boy. He was fond of science and madly loved his mother. One day, an orphan girl, Elizabeth, was brought to their house, and he was told that she would live with them from now on. Moreover, Victor must treat her like his own sister. This is how they grew up until Victor's mother got pregnant by Baron Frankenstein, Victor's father. The Baron was a skillful doctor and delivered the baby himself, but his wife did not survive. Instead, the baby's life was saved. He was named William. The death of his mother was so shocking to Victor that he vowed to grant people eternal life. He would do everything to ensure that none of his loved ones died. Victor devoted himself fanatically to science, and all the while, Elizabeth was by his side. One day, Victor called Elizabeth, Justine, and William for a walk in the mountains to catch a lightning strike. He aimed it at the ground as the four of them lay on top of it. Their bodies became electrified and were even able to emit small strokes. Victor was about to go to Ingolstadt for studies. Before leaving, they had a reception where his father presented Victor with a diary. They wanted to gift it together with his mother, but she died. However, she left her wish in the diary. After the ball, Victor and Elizabeth had a private moment. They were in love with each other and were planning to get married. In Ingolstadt, Victor showed interest in unconventional sciences, which were considered quackery. It caused a clash with a teacher, and it was also the reason he was noticed by Professor Waldman. He studied the human body and was close to creating an artificial organism. Henry Clerval studied with Victor. The two became friends at once.
Henry Clerval, by the way, and I'm completely crazy.
One day, they ran into Professor Waldman, and Victor made it clear that he saw a much bigger picture than anyone the professor knew. Waldman invited them into his laboratory and showed them what he had accomplished in his experiments. Connecting the monkey's paw to an electrical apparatus, he made it move. Waldman took Victor and Henry on as apprentices. Frankenstein was obsessed with the idea of creating new life, or at least learning how to keep terminally ill people alive. He learned from the professor how close he came to solving this riddle. However, Waldman did not dare to cross this line. A cholera epidemic began, and the professors and their medical students started to vaccinate the population. The uneducated vagrants and merchants believed that there was poison in the injection that would kill them, but Waldman tried to explain to them that the vaccine was safe. Despite his assurances, one of the vagrants stabbed him with a knife in self-defense. The professor died, and the vagrant was hanged in public. After the teacher's death, Victor went through his notes and realized how to create an artificial human being. He took the body of that vagrant, who could one day become the head of a mafia clan or at least a cab driver, and went to the cemetery to get another biomaterial. To make his creation intelligent, Victor decided to use Waldman's brain. He also needed amniotic fluid and electricity. Before testing on a human being, Frankenstein tried the method of reanimation on a toad and succeeded. His work caused Victor to stop writing to Elizabeth, and she came to see him in person. In the meantime, the town was shut down for quarantine, and Henry urged Victor to escape, but he refused. And even Elizabeth's entreaties didn't help. They had a fight, and Elizabeth left. Frankenstein, though, set about creating a new human being. He performed the procedure, and it even seemed to him that the creature came to life. But then he realized he was wrong. Victor wrote in his diary that the creature was not viable. He put the diary in his coat pocket and was determined to destroy it. Then he went to bed, and when he woke up, he saw the monster he had created. The creature grabbed his coat and ran away. On the street, he was mistaken for a sick man and almost killed, but managed to escape in a wagon of corpses. Once outside the city, the monster jumped off the wagon and went into the woods. Meanwhile, Victor Frankenstein fell ill. Henry and Elizabeth came to take care of him. Upon seeing his beloved, Victor was overjoyed. He told her that his work was done, and the creature he had brought to life was dead.
It's dead. It's dead.
At that moment, the monster came out to the farmhouse of the peasant family. It saw how kind they were to each other, how they cared for each other, and it was imbued with that feeling. Next to them, the monster remembered that he could read and speak. He started to help them with their household chores without showing his face, and they believed it was a benign forest spirit helping them. Victor proposed to Elizabeth, but instead of a ring, he gave her a locket with his image. They were about to return to Geneva, and Victor invited Henry along. He agreed. A landowner came to the peasants to collect overdue rent. At this point, only the blind grandfather was in the house, and they had an argument with the man. Frankenstein's creature stood up for the old man and slammed the money collector's head against the roof of the barn. At that moment, the farmer's daughter came to them and told them that someone had come to see them. The couple were frightened and rushed home. The monster and the blind old man became friends. Frankenstein's creature told him that he needed a friend, but with his appearance, no one would agree to be around him. Everyone was afraid of him, and even the spouses were terrified when they came home. They decided that the monster attacked the old man, kicked him out, and then ran away themselves. Realizing that he had lost the only people he truly loved, the monster decided to take revenge on Victor Frankenstein. He read his diary and learned that it was Victor who had created him. The monster got to Geneva and found Frankenstein's house. Meanwhile, Elizabeth returned home. She started wedding preparations, and William took the locket given to her by Victor and wanted to show it to his friend. In the woods, the boy met a monster. He then killed him and took the locket. Everyone who was at the house went looking for William. Justine got so tired that upon coming to the barn, she had a lie down and fell asleep. Frankenstein's creature crept up on her and put Victor's locket. Victor soon arrived too. At this moment, Elizabeth came out of the forest with little brother on her hands. After seeing this, Victor's father had a heart attack. Everyone was deeply devastated, and then it was revealed that Justine had killed William because the locket had been found on her. Without determining whether she was guilty or not, Justine was sent to prison. But the enraged crowd, having learned of what she had done, carried out their reprisals. They hanged the girl despite Victor's attempts to stop the execution. That same night, a monster appeared at the Frankenstein estate. He appointed Victor a meeting in the mountains, and the latter went there without explaining anything to Elizabeth. Here, the monster demanded that Victor create a bride for him. Only a creature like himself could love him. The monster has a lot of hate and love in his soul, and if he can't give that love to another living creature, his hatred will overwhelm him, and he will make Frankenstein's life a living hell. If he gets the bride, he will retire to the north, and no living soul will ever see them again. Victor agrees to these terms and asks Elizabeth to postpone the wedding for a month so that he can fulfill the monster's request. However, he does not tell her the whole truth, and Elizabeth is terribly upset. She decides to leave Victor and to make her stay. He agrees to tell her everything. The monster threatens to take Elizabeth for himself if Frankenstein does not create a bride for him, and the material for the future wife should be Justine's body. Having learned the truth, Elizabeth stays with Victor. They marry and escape from the mansion, taking the guards with them. They hope to kill the monster before it harms anyone. However, the monster was expecting this, and on the day of the escape, he killed Victor's father. He then tracked down the couple and drew the attention of the Frankenstein's guards. Victor and Elizabeth had their wedding night, but Victor had to leave. He wanted to hunt down and kill the monster while he had the chance. As he left the bedroom, the monster burst in and killed Elizabeth. It ripped out her heart the moment Victor returned. Frankenstein was in despair. He grabbed his wife and brought her to his laboratory. There, he cut off her head and sewed it to Justine's body, which the monster had brought. Having killed Elizabeth, the monster threw her off the bed, and the girl's head was burned. So Victor had to make some adjustments to her. Then he performed the revitalization procedure, and Elizabeth rose to her feet, except she didn't recognize her lover. So when the monster appeared and called out to her, she went to him, but Victor made her remember his name. He began to argue with his own creature for the right to possess Elizabeth, and she couldn't stand it. She grabbed a lamp and set herself on fire. Elizabeth ran through the house, setting the hallway on fire. The Frankenstein estate burned, and Victor set off on the trail of the monster, not realizing that he himself had become a monster capable of madness. It led him north, where he came across Walton's ship, trapped in the ice. After telling his story to the captain, Victor died. At this point, the monster appeared and started to mourn him, for he considered Victor his father, who never gave him a name. Frankenstein had to be burned, and his creation decided to perish with him. However, it turned warm, and the ice broke up. Almost the entire ship's crew managed to climb aboard while the monster grabbed a torch and swam to the ice floe where his creator lay. He lit a fire, and he and Victor, engulfed in flames, disappeared into the fog. Walton was then asked if he wanted to continue sailing north. The captain replied that they would now sail home. When he heard Frankenstein's story, he realized that they were alike, for he had the same disregard for the lives of men as he pursued his goal. Now, however, everything changed because he realized the consequences of such stubbornness despite the best intentions. And that's where the movie ends. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to watch more movie recaps videos like this.